The broadcast, National Super Alliance for the Opposition seems to be a done deal after at least 15 political parties signed a memorandum at the Bomas of Kenya here in Nairobi, promising to remain united towards the August general election. Political leaders Musalia Mudavadi, Kalonzo Musyoka, Raila Odinga, Moses Wetangula and KANU's Nick Salat also undertook to put all their might in the drive to get their supporters to register as voters in order to face off with Jubilee. Our senior political affairs reporter Duncan Hayamba is working on that story. We shall be bringing you the details a little later on in the program. Meanwhile, as the opposition was making their declaration at the Bomas of Kenya, just a few kilometers away, Jubilee elected and aspiring leaders from Nairobi met the Deputy President William Ruto at his residence in Karen. They were gathering to strategize on how Jubilee Party can capture all seats in the capital, including the governorship. The leaders announced they would combine forces to compete with the opposition during the upcoming general election.
Pauline, you have the opportunity of your lifetime. Pauline, please step.
Tuko na website. So, but
Tukiwa Nairobi hii vile vile lazima nyinyi mtupatie sura mzuri kwamba jamii zote ambazo ziko Nairobi tuungane, kila jamii ipate nafasi, tukubaliane, ndio tutembee kama nyumba moja ya Jubilee ya Wakenya wote.
Tafadhali, ni lazima kwa mafikira yako wewe usije ukafikiria ni wewe peke yako. Fikiria ile shinda ambayo Kidero ametuletea Nairobi hii. Watu wetu wanaumia Nairobi hii. Nairobi imemalizika, imeibwa ya kutosha, na tumesema enough is enough.
We are delivering Jubilee. We are going to take over Nairobi. We will have a governor Nairobi wa Jubilee. We will have a senator Nairobi Jubilee. We will have a women rep Nairobi Jubilee. We will have MPs and MCAs Nairobi Jubilee. That is bigger than all of us who are here.
So I'll cross over to the county of Uasin Gishu. The family of a controversial lawyer who had attempted to stop the burial of former KANU politician Mark Tor is calling on the police to intensify the search for him. Lawyer Simon Lilan is reported to have gone missing on Monday after making it public that his life was in danger. Elvis Koski has the report.
At the home of lawyer Simon Lilan at Islamic Center in Uasin Gishu, silence tells it all over the circumstances that led to his disappearance. The renovation works of a huge mansion are stalled in what would have been a well-planned homestead that was being painted. The controversial lawyer, who recently hit headlines by moving to court to block the burial of prominent politician Mark Tor, has been missing for 3 days. The family of Eldoret-based lawyer Simon Lilan says the vocal counsel went missing on January 9th, 2017, the day which Tor was being laid to rest in his Maziwa Farm, Kapseret constituency.
Ilipofika saa 10, nikakuwa na wasiwasi juu yake kutorudi. Ndio ikanibidi nikajaribu kupiga simu yake na sikumpata. Ndio ikabidi nikuja hapa kwa mji yake hapa nyumbani, na kufika hapa nyumbani nikakuta mke wake pia alikuwa anajaribu kupiga na hakuwa anampata. Nilipo park gari akaniuliza ndugu yako yuko wapi? Ndio nikamwambia ya kwamba hata mimi ndio namtafuta tangu asubuhi. Tulitoka hapa tukaenda mjini. Kwa siku hiyo asubuhi tulikuwa na yeye na chakula cha asubuhi.
Kuongea na yeye ilikuwa ni last week, lakini hata sina cha kusema kwa sababu tamaa ya moyo wangu tu ni kwamba napenda tusaidiwe tumpate ndugu yetu.
According to the family, Lilan, aged 50, disappeared just after addressing a press conference in Eldoret, claiming that his life was in danger.
Wamejaribu tangu siku hiyo, hata kuna wale wenye wanashirikiananga na yeye kwa siasa huko kijijini, huko different places. Wamejaribu pia ile mpango ya kisiasa lakini wamekuwa wakikosa, ndio wamekuwa wakinipigia.
Eldoret West CPD Samuel Mutunga confirmed that a report of a missing lawyer had been made at their office and they have been commenced investigation.
Tumeweza kucirculate missing person leo kwa station zingine. Tumeweza kumuita atupee habari nyingi, aongezee habari, because tunaona anatueleza bank, atueleze bank gani, anatueleza simu yake, hakutuachia namba ya simu ya huyo yeye tuweze kutafuta to locate. Vile alikuwa amevaa hakutuachia. Ilikuwa report ya haraka but tumechukua hatua because tumeweza kucirculate.
On Monday, the Eldoret High Court vacated an order to stop the burial of Tor, and the court was expected to give further directions on Wednesday. Elvis Kosgei, KTN News, Kipkorgot area, Uasin Gishu County.
Back to your top story. A national super alliance for the opposition seems to be a done deal. It's after at least 15 political parties signed a memorandum at the Bomas of Kenya promising to remain united towards the August general election. Political leaders Musalia Mudavadi, Kalonzo Musyoka, Raila Odinga, Moses Wetangula and Kanu's Nick Salat also undertook to put all their might in the drive to get their supporters to register as voters in order to face off with the ruling Jubilee coalition. Duncan Haimba now reports from the Bomas of Kenya.
As promised, they came, they danced, and they declared. Opposition chiefs and their supporters, eyeing various seats in the forthcoming general election, congregated here at the Bomas of Kenya to adopt a common strategy on how to wrestle power from the grip of Jubilee.
Jubilee must go! Safari hii tunataka the real emancipation, the second liberation of Kenya.
Mimi ndio nilikuwa natembea na Mudavadi na sasa tuko hapa, hizo kura zote ziko ndani ya God. We are going to win. We shall win. Tuambie viongozi wetu, you must hold together. Hebu turudie hiyo, you must hold together.
In August, the people of Kenya will have a government of the people, for the people, by the people.
In what seems to be a change in tact, the opposition shelved the idea of mass action to protest the recently forcefully amended electoral laws and instead employed services of three technocrats, David D, Professor Abubakar Zain and Professor Elisha Ngoya, to rally Kenyans against Jubilee, which they claimed is running down the economy.
If Jubilee can do what they did in December in Parliament, bringing policemen, fighting, what are they going to do if we allow them to have a supermajority?
It is sometimes said that it is not those who cast the ballots who determine who wins. It is those who count the ballots who determine that who wins. That's what we must resist.
The opposition said their main focus for now is voter mobilization.
If you want an alternative process of elections in case of technology failure, you back up technology with technology. Kama hawaelewi, tunataka kuambia, ukiweka gari kwa barabara ikiwa ni Pajero na unataka kubeba spare wheel for backup, unabeba spare wheel ya Pajero. Hubebi kurudumu ya baiskeli ukisema hii ni backup ya gari ya Pajero.
Let this not be a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Mimi nasema tukisimama hapa, nataka umoja ambao tunadhibitisha hapa, walai. Na mimi nataka niwaambie, kwa sababu nimetembea hiyo barabara, Hiyo barabara ni nyembamba na ni ndefu.
Wanaswe. Si namna hiyo. Lakini basi, we have to be very strategic. We have gone this journey before. We don't this time. We will not accept another stolen election in Kenya.
We appeal to you to be our eyes and our ears on the ground on this exercise. We in turn shall continue to be your eyes and ears up here against Jubilee. But we also promise that you shall never walk alone in this exercise. As your leaders, we shall be visiting your areas to give you the push and the guidance that you may need.
And with that, they gave an undertaking of approaching the election as a united team.
Jubilee must fall. It's being done elsewhere. It must be done in Kenya. That is the message by the united opposition as they embark on a strategy which they say, if well applied, it will ensure that Jubilee is defeated come August this year. Duncan Haimba, KTN at the Bomas of Kenya.
Duncan Haimba reporting on the opposition Congress. So the much talked about National Super Alliance wasn't exactly launched, but a total of 15 political parties coming together and making that declaration that they will approach the August 2017 general election as a united front in efforts to bundle Jubilee out of power. What are your thoughts on this political development? Do you think this alliance is strong enough to beat Jubilee in August? Text and tweet us your views, your yes or no opinion, plus a brief comment. The studio line 22154, Twitter at Ben_Kitili, at KTN News, and at KTN Kenya. The hashtag is KTN Prime. Shall be sampling some of those texts and tweets during this broadcast. I don't need your security. That was a defiant reply from Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho to the Coast Regional Coordinator Nelson Marwa. Joho was responding to Marwa's scathing attack after Joho and his Kilifi counterpart Amason Kingi complained about the withdrawal of their security detail. Here's Francis Mtalaki.
Wakisema ati Governor Joho must apologize.
Fresh from Ghana, the Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho dove straight into the controversy of his security detail.
Mimi nasema hivi, hata wanifanye nini. In fact, let me tell you, tangu nitoke Ghana, kwa mara ya kwanza leo nimetembea bila walinzi.
An experience he maintains has made him the happiest man on earth.
I've driven myself to this venue and I'm going to drive myself home. Na kama ni kuchungwa, nyinyi mtanichunga.
This comes hours after Coast Regional Coordinator Nelson Marwa lashed out at the Mombasa Governor and his Kilifi counterpart Amason Kingi. Marwa maintains they have been creating unnecessary sideshows given that the reorganization has affected 6 governors from the Coast region.
Na sio governors tu wamekuwa affected. Ebu fanya uchunguzi wenu. All senior VIPs in the region, security has been withdrawn. All of them. What is so special with Joho na governor ya Mombasa? What is so special about it? Hata wakati security imechukuliwa kwa waziri, kwa nyumba ya waziri ni Mombasa. We have even withdrawn security from ministers' houses in Mombasa. Kilifi, Diani. What is so special about Mombasa? You can't afford, my brother, to have 2 uniformed laws in the same country. You will be running a banana country, republic. One law, and that law must be abided by and respected by all the citizens of that country. Then it becomes a country, a democratic country, where laws are made, the same laws are abided by.
Wekeni walinzi wenu kwenu, si wataki kamwe. Do me the favor, weka walinzi so that we can permanently end the debate on matters to do security assigned to me and my brother Governor 003 Amason Jeffa Kingi. We do not need your security. Kwanza sisi ni watu ambao tunaamini Mwenyezi Mungu. Hata nani hawezi chukua maisha yangu mpaka siku yangu ifike.
Marwa, on the other hand, has issued a warning to any commander that will assign more than 5 security officers to any governor.
Zile bunduki mumeweka kwa mifuko. Illegal people holding illegal illicit gangs nyingi tu. Sindio? Serikali imeanza kufanya kazi and mutaona all people holding illicit gang in the region, musarende pole pole. Just return them because the government will come for these gangs, whether you like it or not.
Nyali, to be specific, is said to be leading in illegal arms possession and drug barons, who Marwa says are now used to heckle leaders. Francis Mtalaki, KTN News, Mombasa.
From that, a boy who had been kidnapped in Thika has finally been reunited with his relatives. It was a happy reunion as 4-year-old Kelson Kimani was reunited with his family at their Thika home after being rescued by flying squad officers. The boy was rescued as his captors were moving him from Ruaka to Mwiki area. Linda Ogutu now reports.
The procession of police cars that had just carried out an operation to rescue a 4-year-old boy snatched from his family in Thika. Kelson Kimani was kidnapped by 4 gunmen who had raided their house in Thika Section 9 on Friday evening, where a substantial amount of money had been stolen. The distressed family suspects the gunmen took off with the boy in order to demand ransom in an incident that happened moments after 6 p.m. when the boy's mother left the house for Thika town, where she had gone to close shop for the day. It was upon arrival at her house that she heard the children screaming from inside and saw a stranger manning the gate. The gang grabbed Kelson and left with him. Everyone trying to get a hold of the boy who seemed unfazed by his ordeal, finally landing in the arms of his father. Family and friends grateful that the boy had been found alive and safe 5 days after he was kidnapped.
Na tukaambiwa hata tukifanya nini, hata tukipeana hizi picha ama nini kwa polisi, hiyo ni kazi ya bure. Mtoto wako na yeye na wakatutumia picha yake kama wamempiga. Sasa sisi hata tulikuwa tumeanza kutafuta pesa, hatukuwa tunajua tutafanya nini, lakini Mungu ana rangi.
Tulikuwa tumepotea nguvu, although watu walikuwa wanatupatia motisha na wanatu-encourage kuwa mtoto atarudi akiwa mzima.
The boy was rescued in Kasarani area in Nairobi Tuesday evening, and 3 suspects arrested as they moved him from Ruaka to Mwiki.
What we were sure of is that Kelson was alive and a very jovial young man. We've known their tactics. The syndicate is now in parts because we have almost everybody in that syndicate. There are only 3 who are at lunch, but known. We have their identifications. We're looking for the people that we know.
Head of Flying Squad Saidi Kiprotich said the gang was moving the boy to a safer house after realizing that their hideout had been known. Police said those arrested were 2 women and a taxi driver.
Take note of the person you are talking to. Take note of the friends who are coming to your residential areas. Make sure that you know who is next to your house.
At his parents' home, more prayers were offered with gratitude that the 4-year-old had been reunited with his family. Images of the kidnapped boy had been shared widely as the aggrieved family pleaded with the kidnappers not to harm the boy. Linda Ogutu, KTN News.
Great ending to that story. Kelson is back home, and we have good news all around. A group of former Air Force pilots surprised the family in Thika when they arrived in a chopper not only to fly their son to secondary school, but also pay his school fees from Form 1 to Form 4. Our senior reporter Carol Nderi has a story of Nyeri's top KCPE exam performer Kevin Muriuki Nderitu.
When he garnered 372 marks in his KCPE,
Kevin Muriuki was elated. He was, after all, the top student in his school, Karishani Primary School in Nyeri. However, the turmoil that plagued the family was about how they would raise the school fees for Nyeri High, where Muriuki has been admitted. Muriuki, aged 14, worked at the Chaka quarries where he would earn a paltry 200 shillings a day. His father works in the same quarries too, and the mother is a casual laborer. When our sister paper, the Standard newspaper, highlighted Muriuki's story, well-wishers called in droves seeking to help the boy. The Kenya Air Force Officers Veterans Association came calling and promised to help the young man fulfill his dreams of joining Nyeri High School and making something of himself. Today, the Air Force officers kept their promise, and they did it in style. They arrived in a chopper to pick up the boy from Karishani Primary School to Nyeri High School. The visibly excited Muriuki flew in a chopper for the first time in his life. Flown by Captain Apollo Maloa, Kevin Muriuki took it all in. And when he landed in his new school, the buzz of excitement from the Nyeri High students was palpable.
I thank the media group and the Veterans Association, and I promise to work extra hard.
Hatukuwa tumefikiri anaweza kuja hapa sababu tuko na pesa, lakini Mungu ametuonyesha ila hatuwezi kufanya, anaweza fanya.
He wanted to be a pilot, and many of our members are former pilots in the Kenya Air Force, and they felt that they need to do some intervention on behalf of the young man. He'd been invited to join Nyeri High School, but unfortunately he did not have the required school fees. And we got together and we were able to raise some money, and happily Kevin is going back to school today.
The Association of Retired Air Force Pilots presented the school with a check of 53,000 shillings that will cater for the entire year and promised to pay the rest of his fees throughout his high school life. Carol Nderi, KTN News, Nyeri High.
All the best to Kevin, who wants to be a pilot. No pressure, kid. Now, Dr. Paul Kurgat, who has been nominated for appointment to the position of member of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, has asked politicians across the country to build consensus ahead of the August general election and instill credibility in the electoral process. His counterpart, Professor Abdi Guliye, says Kenya should consider embracing electronic voting system in order to enhance accountability. Patrick Amimo has the details.
Members of the National Assembly's Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, on the second and last day, interviewed 3 candidates who have been nominated for appointment as members for the new IEBC that will oversee the August general elections. Egerton University Professor Abdi Guliye says there should be continuous registration of voters. Abdi argues if appointed, he will introduce reforms where the political parties liaison committee will continually meet with all players in the electoral process to forge consensus on sticky issues and reduce suspicion.
I believe automation enhances efficiency. And so even if there will be a manual voting as a backup, we need to work, the Commission needs to work towards total electronic voting. I think it's the only way we can minimize discrepancies.
Moi University's Dr. Paul Kibiwot Kurgat says that if appointed, he will ensure structures within IEBC work in harmony and enforce guidelines to level the playing field.
What I'm going to do as a commissioner, if you're approved, to speak to the political parties, to speak to everybody that is a stakeholder, to at least have a close figure to what we expected to have in the Constitution, so that the women of Kenya can be part and parcel of this elective process.
I think if a law can be worked out to say that a party that has more women will be given more nomination seats, that is a suggestion for me, that if your party has more women, then we will give you a special something from that vote of nomination. And that will encourage parties and leaders who have women in leadership.
The evidence I shall give before the department.
Margaret Wanjala Mwachanya says continuous voter education will help cure voter apathy and ensure only credible leaders are elected into political office.
A huge part of this country do not still understand why they should vote.
they don't. So the first thing is to instill that knowledge, because we say that knowledge is power. Let us instill that knowledge first to the Mwananchi to see the importance of voting, and let them not see that when I'm going to vote, I'm giving someone else a choice. That thing must be eradicated from our people's mind completely, and see the real advantage and the necessity of an individual voting, casting a vote.
And we hope that the IBC Commission will be in place possibly by next week, whoever will be approved, so that they can oversee the mass voter registration, and the rest of the commissioners who have resigned will then hand over to the incoming.
No credibility concerns were raised against the three candidates who appeared before the Chepkonga-led committee with regard to their suitability to be the next commissioners of the National Elections Body. The Justice and Legal Affairs Committee retreats Thursday to write its reports on the IBC nominees. It will table its report to Parliament Tuesday next week for members to debate and either decide to endorse or reject its recommendations. Patrick Amimo, KTN News, Parliament.
The White House, Obama returned to his adoptive hometown of Chicago to recast his "Yes, we can" clarion call as "Yes, we did."
Obama went down to his adoptive hometown where he addressed a crowd of some 18,000 not far from where he delivered his victory speech 8 years ago. Die-hard fans, many African Americans, braved Chicago's frigid winter to collect free tickets, which were selling for upwards of $1,000 apiece online. They were joined by First Lady Michelle Obama, Vice President Joe Biden, and his wife Jill, who the president described as family in an emotional speech. Wiping off a tear from his eye, Barack Obama paid poignant tribute to his family, his daughter Malia, who was present, and Sasha, who was not, and the First Lady, who he addressed as the best friend.
You took on a role you didn't ask for, and you made it your own, with grace and with grit and with style and good humor.
Listing landmarks of his presidency from the Iran nuclear deal to reforming healthcare, much of the speech was dedicated to lifting up supporters who were shaken from Donald Trump's shock election. Obama called on them to pick up the torch, fight for democracy, and forge what he termed as a new social compact.
If I had told you 8 years ago that America would reverse a Great Recession, reboot our auto industry, and unleash the longest stretch of job creation in our history, if I had told you that we would open up a new chapter with the Cuban people, shut down Iran's nuclear weapons program without firing a shot.
In the wake of the Trump administration promising to overturn Obama's legacy achievement, Democrats have been cast into a political wilderness of sorts and are struggling to regroup, a task Obama painted as a generational challenge.
I am asking you to believe, not in my ability to bring about change, but in yours.
Trix Ingado, KTN News, Nairobi.
The Obamas will be leaving the Rose Garden for the final time aboard.
The Central Bank of Kenya has come out to caution banks against speculative predictions on the Kenya shilling's performance, saying that this could negatively impact the performance of the currency. Economists have come out now to ask players to remain calm, with the consolation that this is just January performance of the Kenya shilling, which is usually expected at the beginning of the year.
It's only 11 days into 2017 and the speculation around the performance of the shilling appears, for lack of a better word, speculative. While 2016 saw the Kenyan shilling record the best performance across the East African region currencies, the same cannot be said of the same currency now. The Central Bank of Kenya reasons that dollar demand from oil importers coupled with a stronger US currency on global markets explains the weakness of the shilling. However, analysts are basing their speculation on the shilling's volatility on a number of factors. One, that 2017 is an electioneering year, and so both local and foreign investors are being careful and taking the wait-and-see approach to avoid losses in the long run. Secondly, analysts add that a dip in forex reserves as a result of CBK injecting dollars into the market also explains the current weakening of the currency.
The regulator has power to manage the exchange, because not only do they have the reserves, they conduct open market operations. They can mop up liquidity to repos.
While the regulator has the IMF standby precautionary loan to fall back to in case of steep internal and external shocks, some analysts think the shilling's performance is only normal considering its beginning of the year, therefore no need for panic. However, downplaying the fact that elections portend a lull in the economy's performance is risky, as it could push inflation rates further up and in turn increase the cost of living.
And after agreeing to a major transfer of its stake in Uganda to French group Total, British oil company Tullow Oil is set to spend 22.5 billion Kenyan shillings in Kenya, channeled towards oil production on a pilot basis. This announcement comes as the company released its 2016 results. KTN's Abiagina has more.
The firm intends to sink 10 billion shillings, or approximately $100 million in preparing the oil fields in Turkana to start production and exporting of oil on a commercial scale, which is expected to commence in 2020. Energy and Petroleum Cabinet Secretary Charles Keter is optimistic that Kenya can start oil exports mid this year.
Tullow and their KJUK partners have also started drilling again.
Tullow, which has prospecting operations in northern Kenya, says it will continue with works on setting up an export oil pipeline under the early oil pilot scheme. The British oil giant is also looking to spend 12.5 billion shillings on drilling of 4 wells in the course of 2017. In a statement which reads in part, this program could be extended by up to 4 additional wells in 2017, depending upon the assessment of the results from the initial 4 wells. End of quote. The firm's chief executive officer, Aidan Havey, noted 2016 was a tough year for the oil and gas sector. A recent uptick in global oil prices will now see oil fetching $56 a barrel, and this has lit up prospects for 2017. Abiagina, KTN Business.
And finally, yesterday we did give you some insights on how the Information Financial Management Information System, also known as IFMIS, works and what exactly its role is. And so today we'd like to find out whether or not it has been able to accomplish what it set out to achieve, that is to monitor expenditure from the government on a digital platform. KTN's special correspondent Alex Chamoda now tells us more.
According to the IFMIS director, Jerome Ocheng, IFMIS only provides an electronic platform for financial transactions in government, and the users, a ministry for example, are responsible for all the levels of approval.
When you begin spending, your expenditure is controlled within your budget.
It would check the involvement of at least 5 people in any process.
These levels can only be abused if there is collusion. If there is one strong man in the middle who can stand and say, that payment I'm not approving, I reject it, no fictitious payment or no unapproved payment will go through.
But the question is, has the digital system really helped to curb corruption in government procurement?
Previously, people would do things and it would go unnoticed. What would happen in the traditional manual environment is like even all these cases of NYS. You would have only had fire broke out at NYS and all the files disappeared. We don't have that opportunity because even if fire breaks out at NYS, the IFMIS server has information of what transactions took place at that particular place.
And comes another question, is IFMIS not responsible?
We believe every entity should be self-regulating. So, and again, these things, like say for example, if I look into the system right now and see that education is paying, say for example, 300 million, you see, I really don't have a basis to query, because 300 million could be salaries going out somewhere. It could be. So basically the internal controller there, it is that guy who is approving, who should actually have the power to query. Office of the Auditor General is directly linked to the IFMIS, and they're able to see all these transactions. But again, it is their responsibility to take whatever action they normally see or deem fit.
The IFMIS director maintains that the department has only provided a platform with the necessary backup measures which can be relied upon for any information needed by law enforcers in the fight against corruption. For KTN News, I'm Alex Chamwada.
And that's it for KTN Business. My name is Joy Doreen Bira. Coming up next is Moses Wahisi with KTN Sports.